At my wedding, my mother-in-law wore a white dress and tried to ruin the ceremony, but my husband told her to stop or leave. I'm Phoebe, 29, an interior designer. I live for color palettes, weird chairs, and making tiny apartments look like they belong in magazines. My husband, Michael, 31, is a software engineer who thinks 3 black t-shirts count as a capsule wardrobe. We've been together 4 years, and honestly, we work. We're that boring couple that actually likes running errands together. Except for one accessory that came with the relationship. His mother. From the very first lunch, she clearly decided I was the wrong choice. She stared at my portfolio on my iPad, flipped through a few photos, and said, "Oh, so you draw cushions for a living?" Then she laughed like it was a joke. "It's interior design," I corrected, smiling. "I plan spaces, manage projects." Right. Pinterest with invoices, she cut in, waving her hand. Michael squeezed my knee under the table, the "please drop it" squeeze. I dropped it, that day. Fast forward 3 years. We're in Paris, standing on a bridge with fairy lights behind us and some guy playing La Vie en Rose on a saxophone like we were in a cliché. Michael drops to one knee, pulls out a ring, and I immediately ugly cry. "I love you," he says, voice shaking. "Marry me?" I say yes, obviously. We take the cheesy photo, ring, Eiffel Tower, my puffy raccoon eyes. I post it with the caption, "I said yes." That night, his mom calls. I'm still twirling my hand in the hotel room, practicing different angles. He puts her on speaker. First thing we hear is her sobbing. "Mom? Are you okay?" Michael asks. Through the tears she manages, "I just never thought my only son would leave me like this." I quietly walk into the bathroom and shut the door, pretending I don't hear her say, "You're my whole world, Michael. How could you do this without talking to me first?" Not congratulations. Not "I'm happy for you." Just grief, like he'd announced he was moving to Mars. I should have taken it as a warning. Planning the wedding was chaotic. Every choice I made, she had an opinion. A modern dress? You'll regret that in photos. Outdoor ceremony? What if it rains? Dusty rose bridesmaids' dresses? That color makes everyone look sick. At one point she actually sent me a link to a different venue just in case you come to your senses, with a note, "This one has more class." Michael tried to play mediator. "She's just excited," he'd say, rubbing my shoulders while I rage-folded napkins. "She'll calm down." Spoiler, she did not calm down. Then the wedding day finally arrived. I was in a little room off the side of the venue, in my dress, veil pinned, lipstick finally perfect after 3 attempts. I was shaking with that mixture of joy and terror you only get when you're promising to love someone forever in front of 120 people. My maid of honor peeked through the door to check the setup, then froze. "Oh. My. God. What?" I asked, heart dropping. "Did the florist mess up? Is Michael okay? Is it raining?" She turned back to me, eyes wide, and said the sentence every bride dreads. "Your future mother-in-law just walked in. In a white dress." My maid of honor wasn't exaggerating. When I stepped out to peek through the curtains toward the ceremony space, there she was, my mother-in-law, Linda, standing in the middle of the aisle in a floor-length, beaded, ivory gown. Not champagne. Not beige. Not "oops, I didn't know it photographed light." No. Bridal white. She even had a tiny crystal hairpiece that looked suspiciously close to a tiara. Guests were whispering. One woman actually clutched her pearls like we'd walked onto the set of a soap opera. And Linda? She pretended not to notice the chaos she'd created, drifting from table to table like she was royalty greeting peasants. My maid of honor whispered, "Do you want me to, tackle her?" "No," I muttered. "But I want to." The ceremony began. The music swelled, people stood, and I walked down the aisle with my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear anything else. My eyes locked on Michael, who looked at me as if the rest of the world had melted away. But Linda didn't melt. She stayed right there. Front row. Center. Glaring. The officiant welcomed everyone, we exchanged the usual "we're so happy you're here" smiles, and then it was time for vows. We wrote our own, which felt romantic at the time, until I started mine. I knew from the moment we met. A dramatic sigh cut through the air. Linda. Of course. Everyone looked at her. She didn't care. She lifted her hand and waved at the officiant like she was flagging down a waiter. "Excuse me," she said loudly. "Can we pause? I'm feeling very faint. The sun is hitting me directly." She covered her eyes dramatically. "I might pass out." "It's 72 degrees, Michael whispered, jaw tightening. The officiant cleared his throat. "Ma'am, would you like?" "No," she said, voice trembling just enough to look delicate. "Just continue. I'll try to endure." The audacity. I tried again. "Michael, you're my best friend." Another interruption. This time she stood up. "I can't do this," she said, shaking her head. "I can't just sit here while my only son." And that was it. Michael snapped. "Mom," he said sharply. "Sit down." Gasps rippled through the rows. Linda froze like he'd slapped her with a fish. "Michael?" she whispered, scandalized. "No more," he said, louder. "You've made today about you, again. I'm done." She blinked fast, like tears were forming, and stammered, "You're choosing her over your own mother?" Michael didn't hesitate for a second. "Yes," he said. "Because she's my wife. And you will respect her. Or you won't be part of our lives." The silence was so heavy it felt like the air thickened. Linda's mouth dropped open. She let out a choked sob, clutched her chest, and, dramatically, of course, ran out of the ceremony space in full bridal white glory, skirt swishing behind her like a ghost fleeing the scene. Someone whispered, "Well, damn." The officiant cleared his throat again, flustered. Shall we continue?" But I wasn't looking at him. I was looking at Michael. He reached out and took my hands, his voice quiet but sure. "I'm here," he said. "I choose you. Always." And somehow, despite the circus, the embarrassment, the interruptions, and the mother-in-law sprinting off like a telenovela villain, I believed him. My vows shook a little, but I got through them. And when we kissed, the room actually cheered, louder than any wedding I'd been to. But while we were celebrating inside, Linda was already on the move outside, plotting, dialing, whispering, stirring. The moment the ceremony ended and people filtered toward the reception tent, my phone started lighting up like a slot machine. At first I ignored it. I was busy being a newlywed, hugging relatives, taking photos, pretending my mascara wasn't already half gone from everything that had happened. But the notifications kept buzzing. And buzzing. And buzzing. Finally, my maid of honor leaned over my shoulder and squinted at the screen. "Why is your caller ID saying Aunt Rose, declined, like 10 times?" I frowned. "What? I didn't decline anything." She tilted the phone toward me. "Yeah, well, apparently someone is." The bride version of me wanted to ignore it. The normal, suspiciously calm version of me? She already knew who was behind this. Michael was talking to our photographer when I walked over and whispered, "Something's up." He checked his phone. Same missed calls. Same texts. Same relatives. Only one new voicemail stood out. "Mom, 3:22 p.m. Michael, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." He pressed play before I could stop him. "Michael," she began, her voice wobbling like she was standing on a cliff. I had to leave because Phoebe embarrassed me in front of everyone. I choked. Michael rolled his eyes. And now your aunts are asking me what happened, and I just don't know what to tell them. Should I say that the bride hates me? Should I say I'm not welcome at my own son's wedding? Oh my God, I muttered. But she wasn't done. And your new wife hung up on me multiple times. She wouldn't let me explain. Michael stopped the message. You didn't even have your phone. I was literally taking photos with the bridesmaids. He sighed deeply, rubbed his temples, and slipped the phone back into his pocket. Okay. After we dance, I'll call her. Are you sure? I asked. I'm not hiding on my wedding day. She's not ruining this. But she was trying. While we headed toward the reception table, his cousin Alex ran up to us, slightly out of breath. Dude, Alex panted. Your mom is outside by the fountain telling Grandma that Phoebe bullied her. I blinked. I what? And, he leaned in conspiratorially, she said you two forced her to flee for her safety. Michael almost choked on air. For her safety, he repeated. From what, my vows? Alex shrugged. Grandma didn't buy it, but Aunt Rose looks ready to call the police. Before I could react, my bridesmaid Jenna jogged over. Okay, Phoebe, she said, not to alarm you, but a small group of guests is leaving the reception tent to go check on your mother-in-law. They're calling themselves Team Linda. Team Linda? Yup. They've printed their own narrative and everything. It's like a cult. I groaned and sank into my seat at the sweetheart table. I swear, I'm going to spend my honeymoon Googling how to go no contact. But then something unexpected happened. My father, a quiet, calm, cardigan-wearing accountant, stood up from his table with surprising authority, marched outside, and returned 10 minutes later looking satisfied. What happened? I asked, terrified and impressed. He sat, folded a napkin across his lap, and said, I handled it. Michael leaned forward. Handled, how? Dad shrugged. I told Linda's little search party that the only person who disrupted the ceremony was Linda herself. And that the bride did absolutely nothing except try to say her vows. And? I breathed. And half of them came back inside, he said, taking a sip of his champagne. The other half went home because their feelings were hurt. I stared at him. My mild-mannered dad. You're my hero. He raised his glass. Families need boundaries. Someone had to say it. Meanwhile, outside by the fountain, Linda was apparently crying into a lace handkerchief, calling cousins, uncles, neighbors, anyone who would listen, telling them she'd been banished. But inside? The reception was getting livelier. People were drinking, dancing, laughing. And one thing was very clear. Her story wasn't sticking. But Linda wasn't done. She escalates. She recruits allies. She spreads rumors. She calls people deep into the night. And she has one goal. Turn everyone against me. Except the truth, and a few surprising defenders, were about to catch up to her. If I thought Linda's fountain performance was the peak of the chaos, I was wrong. So wrong. Because while Michael and I were twirling on the dance floor to our first dance, she was outside launching what I now refer to as the Midnight Rumor Marathon. After the reception ended and the last sparkler fizzled out, Michael and I finally escaped to our hotel suite. I kicked off my heels, collapsed onto the sofa, and before I could even unpin my veil, his phone rang. 11:47 p.m. Aunt Rose. He groaned. No. Nope. Not tonight. It went to voicemail. 11:49 p.m., Cousin Diane. 11:50 p.m., Uncle Henry. 11:53 p.m., blocked number. By the fifth call, he finally answered. Hello? Aunt Rose's voice burst through the speaker like thunder. Michael. What is this I hear about Phoebe screaming at your mother in front of everyone? I sat bolt upright. What? Michael rubbed his forehead. Aunt Rose, no one screamed at anyone. That's not what Linda told us, she huffed. She said Phoebe humiliated her, pushed her out of her seat, and threatened to throw her out if she didn't stay silent. I stared at him in horror. I didn't even touch her. I didn't even look at her. Michael sighed. Aunt Rose, Mom interrupted our vows. I told her to stop. That's it. A long, dramatic sniff echoed on the line. Well, she's very upset. I'm very married, he snapped, and hung up. I blinked. Did you just hang up on your aunt? He flopped onto the couch. Tonight? Yes. But Linda wasn't done. Not even close. At 12:15 a.m., his cousin Mara texted me directly. Mara, hey girl, sorry to ask this on your wedding night but, did you elbow Linda? She said you attacked her. I stared at the text, slack-jawed. Elbow her? When? During the part where she walked onto the aisle like she was the bride? Michael grabbed the phone and typed back. Michael, no. My wife didn't elbow anyone. Please stop feeding into Mom's drama. Mara, oh. Okay. She sounded really convincing though. Like, sobbing. I groaned. Of course she did. By 1 a.m., it escalated into a full-blown group chat disaster. Apparently Linda had called so many relatives, crying, whispering, claiming she feared for her place in the family, that two uncles started arguing in the family group chat about whether I was controlling Michael. Meanwhile, my phone lit up with a message from my bridesmaid Jenna. Jenna, girl. Linda just posted on Facebook. My blood chilled. Not Facebook. Not the battlefield of the boomers. She sent a screenshot. It read. Sometimes a mother just wants to be included. And instead she gets pushed aside on the most important day of her life. Her life. Her life. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. Stay strong, Linda. Praying for you. What did the bride do? That girl has always looked sneaky to me. Michael's fists clenched. I'm calling her. Babe, I warned, grabbing his wrist, it's past 1 a.m. I don't care. He called. She answered on the second ring, sniffling loudly. Michael? Sweetheart? Are you calling to apologize? He took a breath, visibly holding back anger. No. I'm calling to tell you to stop. Stop what? She said, using her best innocent butter wouldn't melt voice. Stop lying. Stop calling the family. Stop posting. Stop twisting what happened. Silence. Then. I knew she was behind this, Linda hissed. Phoebe is controlling you. Mom, he snapped, Phoebe didn't say a thing. I did. And if you don't stop, I'm blocking your number. I gasped. Michael. But honestly? He looked deadly serious. Linda went full meltdown. You choose her. After everything I've done for you. Good night, Mom. He hung up. We sat there in the dim hotel room, surrounded by champagne glasses and the faint smell of roses, both exhausted yet wide awake. Are we in trouble? I whispered. Probably, he muttered. But I'm not backing down. Outside our little bubble, Linda kept spreading stories overnight like she was running a political campaign. But by morning, cracks in her story were already showing. People start pushing back. Unexpected allies show up. Receipts get exposed. And Linda's version of events begins to unravel. I woke up the next morning feeling like I'd run an emotional marathon in heels. My throat hurt from crying, my head throbbed from lack of sleep, and my phone had 27 new notifications. Michael's had even more. Should we look? I croaked. He sighed into the pillow. Do we have a choice? We didn't. The first message I opened was from my cousin Lila. Lila, call me ASAP. I have screenshots. Screenshots. The holy grail of family drama. I called immediately. Lila answered on the first ring, practically vibrating with excitement. Okay, Phoebe, listen, she said. Linda sent a mass text last night to half the guests claiming you shoved her and told her she wasn't invited. I face-bombed so hard I almost knocked out a contact lens. I never said anything even close to that. I know, Lila said. Which is why I sent her a message calling her out. My eyes widened. Lila was 5 feet tall and powered entirely by iced coffee and spite. What did you say? She read it aloud, proud. Linda, sweetie, I was in the front row. Phoebe didn't even breathe in your direction. The only person disrupting anything was you. I felt a little emotional. You said that? Oh yeah. And she replied with a full essay about how she felt unsafe. So I reminded her there's a video of the whole ceremony. I shot upright in bed. The video. The videographer posted the raw preview at 3 a.m., she added. And people already saw her interrupting your vows. Michael grabbed his phone like it was a weapon. Send it to me. A second later, the clip loaded. And there she was, standing up, waving her hand dramatically, claiming she felt faint. Interrupting. Making everything about her. Michael let out a humorless laugh. Well, there goes her whole story. But that wasn't all. While we watched the video, more texts rolled in. Cousin Alex, yo, Grandma is livid at your mom. Aunt Diane, I believed her until I saw the footage. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Uncle Henry, your mother needs help. I told her so. Then. The ultimate twist. Mara, the cousin who originally texted me. Okay, so I talked to Linda this morning. She told me one version. Then another. Then another. When I pointed out the inconsistencies, she hung up on me. Michael snorted. Classic. But the best message came from Grandma herself. This woman is 84, tiny as a sparrow, and absolutely terrifying when angry. Her text read. Grandma, I told your mother to stop the foolishness or I would personally come drag her out of bed to apologize. I choked. Not drag her. She will, Michael said. I've seen it. While all this was happening, Linda was still sending frantic texts to her Team Linda supporters. But by mid-morning, they were forwarding her messages to us, asking what was going on. One even said, I think Linda might be exaggerating? No kidding. Then came the moment I didn't expect. My bridesmaid Jenna called. You're not gonna believe this, but the venue staff just emailed me. Why you? I asked. Because I gave them my number like an idiot, she groaned. But listen, they said Linda threw a tantrum in the parking lot after she ran out. Like, full-on screaming about how she should have been the center of attention. Oh my God. They also said the coordinator got it on the security cameras. Michael looked at me with wide eyes. We have security footage? I felt a sudden spark of hope. The truth wasn't just trickling out, it was flooding. By noon, 3 relatives who had taken Linda's side had sent apology texts. By 1 p.m., her dramatic Facebook post had been quietly deleted. By 2 p.m., Linda herself went suspiciously silent. And by 3 p.m., we got the call. Not from her. From Grandma. Children, she said sternly, I have spoken to your mother. She will be contacting you shortly. And she will be apologizing. Michael mouthed help at me while I tried not to laugh. What did you tell her? I asked. Grandma sniffed. That if she didn't fix this, I would. And honestly? Everyone in the family knew she absolutely would. When Grandma hung up, Michael exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for hours. She's cornered, I said softly. He nodded. Yeah. But knowing my mom, this apology might come with fireworks. He was right. Because Linda finally calls. And it is not the apology we expected. Grandma said Linda would call shortly. Shortly, in Linda time apparently meant 6 hours, 3 cryptic Facebook likes, and 1 photo of a Bible placed suspiciously on her nightstand. At 9:17 p.m., Michael's phone finally rang. Mom. He stared at the screen like it was a bomb timer. You ready? He whispered. No, I said honestly. But answer anyway. He picked up and put it on speaker. Linda started with a heavy sigh, the kind of sigh people give right before a dramatic monologue. Michael. I suppose we need to talk. He leaned back against the pillows. Yeah. We do. She sniffled loudly. I know the entire family has turned on me, and I'm sure you're both enjoying that. Mom, Michael said dryly, just get to the point. Fine. She cleared her throat like she was preparing to give an acceptance speech. I want to apologize. There was a long, meaningful pause. Too long. For the misunderstanding, she finished. I pinched the bridge of my nose. What misunderstanding? Linda gasped, offended. Phoebe. Are you accusing me of lying? I was simply overwhelmed. Weddings are emotional. I wasn't myself. Michael raised an eyebrow. Mom, you told people Phoebe shoved you. Well, she snapped, my memory was a bit fuzzy. You also told Aunt Rose I needed saving from Phoebe. That was clearly hyperbole. And you posted on Facebook that we were cruel to you. She huffed. I deleted it, didn't I? Isn't that enough? I looked at Michael and mouthed, oh my God. He mouthed back, I told you. Then Linda kept going. And anyway, she said in a fragile voice, I've been through so much. Watching my only son get married without considering my feelings, knowing I'm losing you. Michael straightened. You're not losing me. Yes I am, she wailed. Everything is about her now. I blinked. Her? I'm literally right here. I can hear you. She ignored me. Michael, sweetheart, if you had just warned me you were getting married. He cut her off. Mom, we got engaged. A year ago. Yes, but you rushed the wedding. It was a year. Yes, well, some mothers need more time to prepare. Prepare for what? Battle? Finally, Michael sighed. Mom. You didn't call to apologize. You called to play victim. Linda gasped dramatically. I am a victim. No, he said firmly. You're someone who ruined our ceremony, lied about my wife, and stirred up drama. And until you acknowledge that, nothing changes. Silence. For a long moment, all we heard was Linda's uneven breathing, like she was deciding whether to explode or continue pretending to cry. Then something shifted. Her voice dropped. Quiet. Shaky. Real, almost. I didn't think you'd ever choose someone over me. Michael's expression softened, but only a little. I'm not choosing someone over you. I'm choosing the life I'm building. Mom, I love you. But I'm not your little boy anymore. She sniffled again. This time it didn't sound theatrical. Anne. I suppose, she said slowly, painfully, I owe an apology. To Phoebe. For the things I said. She sounded like she was being held at gunpoint by Grandma. Honestly, she probably was. I leaned toward the phone. I appreciate that. Really. But Linda, it wasn't just words. It was the dress, the interruptions, the rumors. Oh, please don't bring up the dress again. You wore white. It was ivory. It was bridal. It was on sale. I nearly screamed. Michael ran a hand down his face. Mom. Focus. Linda went quiet. Then sighed. Fine. I'm sorry. For everything. I behaved poorly. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't heartfelt. But it was the closest we'd ever gotten. Then she added, in her softest voice yet. And, if you'll let me. I want to fix things. Michael looked at me. He wanted me to decide. So I thought about the chaos, the drama, the lies, but also the fact that Michael loved her, even when she made loving her incredibly difficult. Finally, I said, okay. We'll give you a chance. But things will need to change. She whispered, they will. And for the first time that day, I believed she might actually mean it. But the road to peace wasn't smooth. Linda tries, and fails, and tries again. There are awkward dinners, tense conversations, unexpected meltdowns, and one family gathering that ends in a disaster involving a cake stand. But slowly, painfully, she starts to change. And by the end, she becomes someone I never thought she could be. 2 days after the non-apology apocalypse, Linda announced she wanted to start fresh. Her wording, not mine. She suggested a small family dinner, just us, she said, to rebuild the bond. Translation, she wanted to stage manage her redemption arc. Michael looked nervous. I looked cautious. But we agreed. What's the worst that could happen? We arrived at Linda's house on Saturday afternoon. She'd decorated the dining table like she was expecting royalty, lace tablecloth, candles, a centerpiece shaped like a swan, I wish I were joking, and a 3-tiered cake stand filled with pastries. Hello, dears, she said with a tight, polite smile. Come in. Shoes off, please. Let's keep the floor clean of outside energy. Michael whispered, she's trying. Just roll with it. Dinner actually started out shockingly normal. She asked how work was. She asked about our honeymoon plans. She only corrected me once, it's called a china cabinet, Phoebe, not a hutch. Frankly? That was progress. Then she brought out dessert. A towering, delicate, antique cake stand, easily worth hundreds, filled with eclairs, macarons, fruit tarts, and one lonely brownie she baked herself. She set it in the center of the table with ceremony, like a crown. This, she said proudly, was my grandmother's. Passed down through generations of women. I nodded politely. It's beautiful. And now, she continued, as a gesture of peace, I'd like to share it with the newest woman joining our family. She lifted the stand, smiling. And the bottom tray wobbled. Michael noticed. Mom, be careful. But it was already too late. The entire stand tilted like a sinking ship. Macarons launched through the air like tiny pastel frisbees. The brownie shot off the top like a cannonball. And Linda, desperate to catch the falling tower, reached out. Slam. Her hand knocked the base harder. The entire thing flipped. In slow motion, I watched the beautiful family heirloom arc gracefully through the air, crash onto the tile floor, and shatter into 20 glittering ceramic shards. Silence. Then, a gasp so dramatic it could have revived Shakespeare. My grandmother's cake stand, she whispered, hand over her chest. Ruined. Destroyed. Gone. I opened my mouth to console her. Mistake. This is your fault, she cried. I blinked. My, what? I didn't touch it. You distracted me with your talking. I said it was beautiful. Michael held up both hands. Mom. Mom. Nobody caused this. It was an accident. She shook her head as tears welled. No. No, Michael. Ever since the wedding. Store that quote for later. I had a feeling it would return. Things have been going wrong. My son is slipping away, my family is turning against me, and now this. I leaned back, stunned. Linda, it's a cake stand, not a prophecy. She looked between us, angry, hurt, overwhelmed. Then the dam broke. I'm trying, she sobbed. I'm trying so hard to fix this, and every time I do, something else falls apart. I don't know how to make you like me. My breath caught. Because for the first time. That didn't sound manipulative. It sounded terrified. Michael stood, walked around the table, and hugged her. She sobbed into his shoulder. I hesitated, then walked over, too. When I touched her back, she didn't flinch. She leaned into me. Linda, I said softly, we don't need perfect. We just need honest. She hiccuped. I'm scared. I don't know how to be replaced. You're not being replaced, I whispered. You're gaining someone. I'm not taking him, I'm joining him. She pulled back, mascara smudged, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. I don't want to lose you both. You won't, Michael said gently. But you can't sabotage us and expect closeness. You need to let us be a team without feeling threatened. Linda nodded. And for the first time. She meant it. Then she sniffed loudly. But I do blame the brownie. It was too heavy. I laughed so hard I nearly fell over. Dinner ended with glue recommendations, pastry cleanup, and Linda insisting on hugging me twice. But it was a start. A messy, ridiculous, pastry-covered start. She tries again, this time in public. At a family gathering. Where she introduces me to everyone with a speech I never expected. And trust me, it changes everything. A week after the cake stand catastrophe, Linda invited us to a family barbecue. Normally, I'd avoid anything involving both her and open flames, but she sounded different. Calm. Determined. Almost nervous. When we arrived, the backyard was packed. Aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors who weren't even invited, the usual. Conversations clattered everywhere until people noticed us and went quiet in that very obvious, very awkward way. Linda hurried over. You made it. She wrung her hands. I have something planned. Just, trust me. That sentence terrified me. Everyone gathered around the picnic tables, burgers in hand, when Linda tapped her fork against a glass. Everyone, I want to say something. Michael shot me a warning look. I braced for incoming emotional shrapnel. Instead, she cleared her throat and said, I owe you all an apology. Dead silence. She continued, voice shaky but steady enough. At the wedding, I behaved horribly. I made things about myself. I lied. I exaggerated. I hurt my son. And I hurt Phoebe. People shifted uncomfortably. Someone whispered, wow. Linda swallowed. I was scared of losing Michael. I let that fear turn into jealousy. And instead of welcoming the woman he loves, I tried to push her out. My heart started beating weirdly. Then she turned to me. And Phoebe, I am truly sorry. Not the half apology I gave you before. A real one. You didn't deserve any of what I did. I actually felt tears sting. She wasn't performing. She wasn't dramatizing. She was trembling. And, she added, voice cracking, I want everyone to know I was wrong. About her. About everything. A murmur spread through the crowd, surprised, impressed, relieved. Then Linda did the most shocking thing yet. She took my hand. Held it. In front of everyone. Phoebe is kind. She's patient. She loves my son. And I want to love her the way she deserves. I want a second chance. I squeezed her hand back. You've got one. Michael's eyes watered. Mom. Linda sniffed loudly. Oh, Michael, don't cry, the neighbors are looking. Everyone laughed, even me. For the first time, the tension in the family didn't just ease. It broke. People hugged us. Toasted us. Complimented my dress. Asked about our honeymoon. Someone even apologized for believing Linda's original meltdown story. Linda stuck by my side most of the afternoon, not clingy, just present, trying. Really trying. At one point she whispered, "Thank you for giving me space to get this right." For the first time, I said honestly, it feels like you want to. She nodded gently. I do. And for the first time, I believed her. But the journey wasn't over yet. Because next comes the real test. A holiday gathering. A fragile truce. A surprise guest. And a moment where Linda proves, truly, finally, whose side she's on. 3 months later, it was time for the ultimate family trial, Thanksgiving. If you want to know whether a family truly healed, stick them in a house for 8 hours with hot ovens, screaming kids, and not enough mashed potatoes. We arrived early to help. I braced myself, expecting at least one tense moment, a comment about my outfit, my cooking, my breathing, but Linda opened the door with flour on her nose and the warmest smile I'd ever seen on her. You're here, she said, pulling me into a hug that smelled like nutmeg. She handed me an apron. Come help me with the stuffing. I want to learn your recipe. I blinked. My recipe? She nodded shyly. You made it last year. I remember. That last year's stuffing had been something she called soggy bread soup. This was new. Slowly, the house filled with relatives. And for the first time ever, when they gave me wary looks, the "oh, is she still the villain from the wedding?" looks, Linda stepped right in. Phoebe's helping me today, she announced proudly. She's practically my sous chef. People stared. I smiled awkwardly. Michael almost dropped the gravy boat out of shock. Halfway through dinner, the surprise arrived. Linda's cousin, the one who had loudly supported her meltdown, the self-appointed founding member of Team Linda, walked in with a smug expression and 2 pies. Well, she said loudly. I see everything's peaceful. For now. She sat down and immediately started stirring trouble. So, Phoebe, she said, slicing into her pie with unnecessary aggression, have you apologized to Linda for the wedding drama? I opened my mouth, stunned. But I didn't have to answer. Linda slammed her fork down so hard the table shook. And oh, she snapped. Because she didn't do anything wrong. I did. The entire table froze. Her cousin blinked. Well, that's not what. Linda cut her off. I lied. I exaggerated. I made a mess of things. And if you're still holding on to that story, that's your problem, not hers. The cousin looked like she'd been slapped with a turkey leg. And, Linda added firmly, if you can't respect my daughter-in-law, you can eat your pie outside. Silence. Then Michael choked on a laugh. I hid a smile in my napkin. The cousin mumbled something and shut up. The rest of dinner went shockingly smooth, almost peaceful. And when everyone ate dessert, Linda kept refilling my plate like I was her favorite guest. After everyone left, she pulled me aside. I meant what I said, she whispered. About wanting you in this family. I want to do better. Not just for Michael, for you. I hugged her. Really hugged her. Because she'd finally proven it. Not with words. Not with a performative speech. But with action. 6 months later, things were, honestly, beautiful. Linda came to my birthday dinner with flowers and a card she wrote by hand. She asked about my work without mocking it. She apologized, again, for everything she'd put us through. She even started introducing me as my daughter, full stop. But the real turning point happened at our small summer barbecue. I was grilling vegetables when Linda walked over, holding a little gift bag decorated with gold leaves. I have something for you, she said softly. Inside was a small, carefully wrapped box. My heart skipped, because it felt like the size and shape of something meaningful. I opened it. It was a delicate porcelain plate. With tiny painted roses. Old, beautiful, fragile. I broke the cake stand, she said quietly. But this was part of the same set. My grandmother's. I want you to have it. I stared at her. Linda, are you sure? She nodded. You're part of our family now. You deserve something from it. My eyes welled up. Thank you. She took my hands. Thank you. For not giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to. Michael walked over, slipping an arm around each of us. Look at my girls getting along, he teased. We both elbowed him at the same time. It was a bonding moment. Later that night, as guests laughed in the yard and fairy lights glowed above us, Linda leaned over to me and whispered. I'm glad he chose you. I smiled. I'm glad we chose each other. And for the first time, genuinely, fully, she smiled back. Because after the drama, the tears, the lies, the chaos, the cake stand catastrophe, and the messy, imperfect healing, we finally became a family. A real one. A peaceful one. A happy one. And that was something none of us ever expected.